Okay, so yeah, so it's my pleasure to sort of kick off the discussion about geothermal rising Canada and give you an overview of the history, the structure, and the overall purpose of it. I would say that I am sitting here today based in Calgary, Alberta. So back in, well, just last year, Cangia approached Geothermal Rising about joining forces to leverage resources and reduce fragmentation within the geothermal industry. And, we've done I think, a pretty good job of that. Down in the U.S. with the Geothermal Rising board, we have representatives on the board from the entire value chain of geothermal, so all the way from heat pumps all the way to deep geothermal. So that's what I mean about reducing fragmentation and speaking with one geothermal voice. So on December 31st, Geothermal Rising Canada was created, and it is a nonprofit headquartered in Alberta, but it's is different than Geothermal Rising, which is a nonprofit headquartered in California. Um, so the Geothermal Rising Canada includes the Geothermal Rising Policy Council, which is mostly what we want to talk about today. And the overall purpose is it's the same sort of vision and mission as Geothermal Rising, which is to inform the public about all geothermal technologies and applications in Canada. So very technology agnostic and across the entire value chain. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the Geothermal Rising Policy Council is to support Canadians and companies operating, investing, or interested in operating in Canada to leverage the learnings from the United States Geothermal Rising Policy Committee. And we want to build on the great work that Cangia did as a volunteer organization over the last 10 years, but not only build it, we want to scale it. And so this is a very good opportunity for us to leverage the resources of the largest geothermal trade organization to advance geothermal advocacy at the federal and provincial level in Canada. So this is really, I think, it's a turning point for us in the industry. We're poised to scale, and we are going to have the benefit of a big organization that's very stable behind us. So the two organizations are administered by the same staff. They're separate, but they're administered by the same staff and board. I don't know if that's complicated, but you'll see on the next slide what I mean by that. The picture on the right is was generated by ChatGPT, but the point of the picture was to show what we're trying to do here is to put everybody, all the voices around the table and put a geothermal roadmap together for the entire country. And I think we're very lucky to have the support of Geothermal Rising behind us. Next slide, please. So this is a slide showing the Geothermal Rising organizational structure. And when I look at this chart, I see many things. I see the people dedicated to the mission of Geothermal Rising, led by Brian Jones, who I've known Brian for a few years now. He's incredibly open-minded, optimistic leader with a future for geothermal energy and with a vision for the future of geothermal energy. And what struck me the most when I met him was his thesis, which is like not accepting the status quo. And that is exactly what we're trying to do here in the energy industry is change the status quo and try and scale geothermal using the skill sets from the oil and gas sector. I also see a growing organization with the resources to support a nascent industry in Canada. And I do think we're poised for scale up. And fundamentally, I see a strong and stable organization with a diverse board. So the board isn't pictured on here because the people of Geothermal Rising, they're the heartbeat of GR. The staff is the heartbeat, and the board, yes, we're there to govern. But our board also has, I think, a lot of diversity in it. We have a seat for heat pumps. We have a seat for hydrothermal, for next gen, we have an academic seat. We have a government seat. And so it's this diversity of voices that is really going to help us think big and achieve results that benefit, many facets of the geothermal sector. So if you could just switch the slide. So this is my parting slide to you. It's the Geothermal Rising universe. And in the center, you can see the board of directors there. And as I mentioned, we govern, but we're also we're a very hands-on board. We roll up our sleeves and do a lot of work through the different committees. So we have, I don't know, 7 or 8 committees like membership, communications, education, scholarship, business and finance. But then beyond that, we have a set of working groups. So you can see we have the Next Gen um, Geothermal Student Committee. We have a Bulletin Working Group. We've done a lot of great work with the Tribal, First Nation, and Indigenous Working Group. I think we'll touch a little bit on that later in the presentation, and then a Workforce Success Group. And then sort of building out from that, we have on the right, the US Policy Council, and on the left, the Canadian Policy Council. So I've been fortunate enough to be on the board of the US Geothermal Rising Policy Committee, and which is separate from the Geothermal Rising Board of Directors. So it's run by its own board, and it has initiatives that are targeted at the federal and at the state level. And you work on different regulatory, permitting, policy initiatives, just advocacy. So there's a lot of different work that takes place there. On the left-hand side is showing the Policy Council, which is brand new. It's in its infancy stages, and that's my message here to this group is that um, the the Canadian Policy Council will select its own chair. It will form its own committees. It will drive its own policy and perform its own advocacy. So this is, it's our opportunity to take hold of, to drive the strategy and the tactics to set the outcomes that we need to see to scale geothermal in Canada. So that's my little call to action here is be a part of it. Come and tell us what your vision for geothermal in Canada should be. So now I'm going to hand it over to Vanessa to walk you through some of the wins that the Geothermal Rising Policy Committee has had.
Great. Thank you, Janine. So as Janine has said, we're really trying to, model the Canada Policy Council off of a little bit of the structure and the guidance really directed by our members from the U.S. Policy Council. So I thought it would help to share a little bit about the U.S. Policy Council. And really, as Janine said, it's a smaller subgroup of our membership. We have 15 diverse membership organizations. We meet monthly to really collaborate and knowledge share, bringing everyone together at the same table, sharing similar pitfalls and challenges, but also celebrate each other's successes. And really, we do high-level updates at both the federal and also the state and local levels as well, looking at the policy priorities, actions that are needed at each of those levels, and discuss action items and strategy for the GR staff, solicit input from the members. Again, all of this is member driven. What are your needs? What can we do to support the geothermal industry? We review letters and public-facing materials, get approval, making sure that everyone's voice is included in these documents. And then we also have federal and state subcommittee meetings. So these are smaller groups where we get little nitty gritty, smaller working groups. Who are you meeting with? What's the strategy there? What's the angle that we can, support? And really looking at different areas, from tax defense right now at the federal level to appropriations and funding and permitting reform. So all of these, this structure we want to bring to the Canada Policy Council as well. And for us, outreach and advocacy initiatives are very diverse. So we do a lot of letters of mainly support and celebrating, those that are championing good policy reform at the geothermal level. But sometimes we do have to point out from the industry perspective, maybe they had good intentions, but what does this really mean for the industry if this bill were to be put into action? We host multiple state and Capitol Hill events and really bringing the community together and educating and knowledge sharing across the industry. We provide testimony and public hearings on behalf of the industry as well. We meet regularly with different offices as they're drafting bills, so we can hopefully get input from the industry early on before it's being proposed and it's a lengthier process. And then we are engaging different agencies as well, not just the legislative offices, but the agencies that are really directing and driving the geothermal progress. Also, utility companies are a new sector that we've been engaging recently. And then we also consult with a lot of partners on different policy related events. So from NREL, World Resources Institute, Institute for Progress. So we consult on quite a few of those reports. So these are things that we want to, again, bring to Canada, bring, that structure and that mission and drive to really propel geothermal. Just last year, just wanted to share a little bit of some of the accomplishments. I'm not going to read them all off there, but we were able to, see quite a few endorsement letters, quite a few bills uh, introduced, hosted events, met with different agencies, working at the local level, as we all know, federal level is one thing, but provincial and state have different unique needs. So we are very accustomed to kind of going in and helping and understand who the players are. And some might want more community engagement and workforce development. Some really need that policy work. And then definitely want to highlight all the work that London and Kangia did last year. And this link I'll put in the chat a little bit later. It's on our website right now, but some really great successes last year that we will just continue to develop and build on from the success of Kangia and the Canada geothermal industry. So what does this mean for the Canada GR Policy Council? So I will be, supporting London, and I will be leading that along with the guidance of our policy members in Bryant. But really over the next couple of months, it's membership recruitment and understanding your needs, your policy goals and priorities, and really getting organized on that front, and then setting up that structure for you all. As Janine mentioned, we will be recruiting for a policy chair seat to help kind of drive this group as well. And then in July and August, hit the ground running. We want to start meeting and engaging with the federal and provincial offices and letting them know who we are and what are our needs, and just basic education in geothermal as well. And then hopefully in September, leading off with a partnership event, which we'll talk a little bit later, with the Cascade Institute with their conference that they'll be putting on. And again, I think throughout this whole process, it's really, important this is constant ongoing review, reflection, and tweaking based on, again, the needs of you all and what the industry is needing in Canada. And thank you a little bit. I'll pass it off to Lisa.
Great, thank you. And just the next slide. While we're changing slides, I guess my background is probably important here. So when we built the first geothermal power plant in Canada, we actually built it in situ in an oil and gas facility. And there was a reason why. We didn't actually have a framework for geothermal development. So I bear the battle wounds of getting through that and understand what good policy can mean. We actually did manage to get through under the oil and gas framework, but we also had a very serious role in developing the Alberta Geothermal Resource Act. So again, it's critical to me that we need good policy. So what would be the role for an international board member to want to be part of this joined up view at it? And I just think it's very clear that uniting voices across North America just makes them stronger together. So I believe GRC can be a platform to clarify and enforce central messages to gain policy traction and to incent informed policy action. And what I mean by that is geothermal development is the same on both sides of the borders. Our geology doesn't quit. Our oil and gas industry coexists across borders with people owning on both sides. So it is immune to politics in the way that business development is business development. But when you say good policy is good policy, Canada will, yes, be independent, but that doesn't exclude us from having synergies with the US framework so that we get the best of the best. So we really want education and literacy to be the key to both the Canadian and US approach. Second, Canada's experience as a world-leading cleaner oil and gas producer can be leveraged. Why do I say that? Well, we are recognized worldwide as having the highest standards for regulatory oversight in oil and gas. And because geothermal is the renewable cousin of oil and gas, let's say, it is resource production, those learnings are transferable. So again, there's synergies there. And I did mention, but I'll say it again, geothermal project development best practices and policy is streamlined to easily allow geothermal companies to cross borders on approaches and outcomes. So if you're a technology company or a service company or a project development company, you're probably looking at least a North American landscape, if not further. So I think that you should bear that in mind on why we should ally the way that we are. And then finally, there's a stronger presence is needed, and I think that's that bigger voice to ensure that all that geothermal energy and the reference to it is always included in the suite of energy types at all levels of government. I would say a couple years ago, when people talked about renewables, it was just a solar and wind conversation. But now that conversation is far broader. And for sure, on the US side, you're hearing geothermal and nuclear sneak its way in. And in Canada, happily, that's also happening. So the time is now. And I think my background, I'm a mechanical engineer, but I also have journalism. And you really understand that messaging and narrative is super key. And one of the things that happens if everyone's running with their own messaging, it gets diluted in the fact that government and policy agents don't know which thing to respond to. You're far better off to coalesce and prioritize the things you're after and join those messages up so they're crystal clear and well heard on numerous occasions. So I guess I'm going to stop there, but that's the goals. But it's up to you as members to come in and actually shape that. So if that's the lofty outcome, how do we get there? So I would ask you all to join in as a member, as both Janine and I have done. I'm done. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. And again, my name is Bryant Jones. I'm the Executive Director of Geothermal Rising. I'm not an engineer or a geochemist by background. I'm a science and technology studies scholar. And as Janine mentioned earlier, I studied in academia, I studied energy transitions from one technology to another. And what I looked at a lot of times or researched was technologies that did not scale or become commercialized over the history of humankind. And geothermal was one of those case studies. And so that's what got me into this industry. But what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was Geothermal Rising. We are the oldest and largest geothermal membership organization in the world, founded in 1972. We promote all geothermal technologies. So that's everything from heat pumps to all of the different types of direct use applications of geothermal resources to the now many different types of power generation technologies that are out there. We at Geothermal Rising, our main mission is to build and empower the geothermal community. So that's the people of the industry. We want to create that solid and stable foundation from which organizations, businesses, academia, government can launch and either create new products or create new policies that help empower the geothermal industry. So we see ourselves as that stable foundation from which the industry can launch and do all the amazing things that have been going on in the last number of years. We are at Geothermal Rising, we engage communities. We have a community engagement team. One of our main missions is to familiarize the public about geothermal resources and technologies. So that's everything from talking to media, investors, textbook publishers, policymakers, just to help these external audiences understand what geothermal is and to dispel myths and misconceptions about geothermal technologies and geothermal energy. We also at Geothermal Rising conduct our own research. We have a research and science team. And in fact, one of our Earth Energy Fellows is on the call today, Carlos Gores, who lives in Victoria, British Columbia. And so we're conducting research as well. We also promote and amplify government research, industry research, and academic research. And one of the really fascinating things about Geothermal Rising is that as a nonprofit organization, we have a mandate to conduct and disseminate research, scientific research, and to share knowledge. And so that gives us the opportunity to operate at the nexus of industry, academia, and government. And that because of that, we have members from all of those three different segments of the triangle, if you will. So we have universities, government agencies, and industry that are members of Geothermal Rising. Similar to what I was mentioning earlier, we do inform policy at federal, subnational, and tribal and indigenous levels. And so we do have a tribal community engagement manager on this staff whose mission is to go around and try to engage and help tribes who want to learn more about geothermal and First Nations as well. And then we have a annual Indigenous Geothermal Symposium that we are hosting every year now as well. Some of the initiatives that we have going on, as I was just mentioning, we host workshops and conferences and symposiums. These are our knowledge sharing events. We have a number of them throughout the year across the United States and Canada planned for this year. We collaborate with a lot of different organizations that Vanessa mentioned earlier, as well as the Society of Petroleum Engineers, the Cascade Institute, the American Association of Petroleum Geologists. The list goes on. We do monthly educational webinars. We contribute a lot of industry and technical perspective to reports and technical reports that are released by associations and organizations that touch and research geothermal. We have a very robust student sections across the globe. Actually, we have student sections in Canada, in New Zealand, and in many African countries, as well as in the United States. And that is a very robust part of geothermal rising. And then we have our regional interest groups. These are what we call rigs, pun intended. Rigs are help to empower a local community, of a local geothermal community, to put on events at the local level. So we have about 14 rigs right now. Most of them are United States based, but we do have one that's the Pacific Northwest rig, which is British Columbia, Washington State, and Oregon. And we've had interest in rigs from being started in Alberta and Nova Scotia. And there's a whole program behind it. And Carrie Feller's our director of membership. Her team runs that initiative. We also have our traveling museum exhibit. We're really excited that it's heading to Canada for 2026. This is an initiative where we have a very mobile museum exhibit that is pillar based. So there's these three different pillars, one about the three different technologies, heat pumps, direct use, and power generation. It's currently in Hawaii and it's heading to Utah next. We want to build more of these to have them traveling all across North America, and they're in multiple languages as well. So we have it right now. It's in Spanish, English, and Hawaiian. And when we head up to Canada, it'll be also in French. We have our Earth Energies Fellows initiative, which I just mentioned. One of those is Carlos, who's on the line today, and he's looking at and studying and conducting his thesis on community perceptions of geothermal in Canada and then also in the United States. Let's see. Other events that we have ongoing. Up in Canada specifically, we have our Wing Business After Hours that's going to be in conjunction with the Geo Convention. Geothermal Rising is one of the sponsors for that event. The Global Energy Show, which is an annual energy agnostic conference in Calgary later this year. We're going to be having a geothermal hub hosted by Geothermal Rising at that event. So you can contact Candy Calderon, who works with at Geothermal Rising, to learn more about that event as well. We're going to be having our GR Engineering and Science Symposium in Calgary, September 16th and the 17th. So more to come on that as well. We're really excited to be working with the Geothermal Accelerator Conference. It's going to be happening, not sure what the dates are. I don't see them on this slide, but we are excited about that, and the accelerator that was just recently announced as well, and working with the Cascade Institute to promote this initiative. Other events we have in the United States are our Capitol Hill Day, which is May 13th to the 14th in Washington, D.C. We have a Geothermal Investment Forum that's June 23rd to the 25th in Houston, Texas. And that forum is really meant to be for investors who have already invested in geothermal technologies and companies, speaking to those who are interested or conducting due diligence about potential geothermal investment. So we're really excited to be launching that conversation. It is very North American and based. And it's going to be in Houston, Texas. We have 2 other hubs. One of the things, feedback we've been getting from members is that when a member goes to an energy conference, that they feel like they are drowned out by all the other technologies. So we're bringing the whole geothermal community together through a geothermal hub, where we can try to raise our entire collective voice as the geothermal industry. So in addition to GES in Calgary, we're going to be having a geothermal hub at the Image conference in Houston, Texas, and at the RE Plus conference in Las Vegas later this year. We also have our annual Geothermal Rising Conference. It is the largest annual event globally. It is What is spectacular about it is that it brings together government, industry, and academia, which is a strength of Geothermal Rising, that brings all 3 segments together to talk about geothermal. We need policymakers to be able to understand the science, and we need researchers to be able to understand and communicate with policymakers. And GR is really fantastic about bringing this entire community together. Also, as part of that, we have our peer-reviewed GR Transactions, which is the largest peer-reviewed journal publication in the world. And we have many of you may know, if you've attended a GRC, we have technical sessions, panels, posters, field trips, an exhibition hall, workshops, so much more going on, a golf tournament. This year, it's going to be in Reno, Nevada. It's also going to be aligned with this year's Indigenous Geothermal Symposium. And so that is going to be happening right before the annual conference. Just sort of wrapping things up here, we're really excited to work with the International Geothermal Association, who have been very supportive in this partnership and merger between the Canadian Geothermal Energy Association and Geothermal Rising. So we're excited to work with IGA next year and already on the World Geothermal Congress to make sure that it is a smashing success. And that, as you all know, that's going to be hosted in Calgary next June. And we want that event to be just wonderful with Geothermal Canada and IGA. Those are just a few things that we're working on. So I'll hand it over to Carrie to talk about membership.
Fantastic. Excuse me. Thank you, Bryant. So I am delighted to talk about membership and ways to get more involved. Our organizational membership, and many of you on this call I know are organizational members. Thank you so much for your support. You get company exposure and branding opportunities. There are discounts for Geothermal Rising events. Many of the things that Bryant just spoke about have member rates. You get priority access to things like exhibition space and at GRC, which is always in high demand. And then we have networking opportunities within the geothermal industry. More and more, our industry is growing, which is amazing. And so if you have a local rig or you happen to be in an event in one of these locations, please join us for those networking events so we can continue to build our community. And then, as we've already spoke about, all kinds of educational opportunities across the spectrum of the geothermal industry. We support a lot of entities, whether that be research or whether that be events and content for those events. So very open, and hope you can attend some of those or take advantage of some of those opportunities. So our pricing for organizational memberships are as low as $1,800 in Canadian. And that would come with like 5 membership, a number of different things. So I'm happy to discuss that with you if you have any questions. And then if you can move forward on the slides. Our Canadian Policy Council fees, these are going to be set as the policy committee as an independent entity. These are going to be set by the Policy Council once that's formed. These are the introductory rates to get us started. We expect that this will probably be kind of the near-term perspective on that. And then as the industry grows and the need for some of this grows and more folks get engaged, the Policy Council may choose to increase those fees. But that will be up to all of the members as they move forward and discuss it. If you can look here, we have 3 different levels. We have that board level, which is very definitely has that highest level. They get a vote, they get a say in that mission, vision, and governance. So that's our highest level. And we thank a number of the folks that have joined at the board level, including Futerra and Ever. And then we have an observer level. That is targeted at nonprofits, and there's some specifications there around that so that we can help them engage and then still be bipartisan or not commit to a specific track if that is a concern for them. So we have some specific parameters for those nonprofits, universities, and government organizations. So then we also have participant levels. So you want to get your foot in the door and be part of the meetings and discussions, but you're not quite ready for some of that board level engagement. We have a number of folks. Often they come in at the participant level, they learn more about it, and then they move up towards the board level to get more engaged. So we encourage you to and happy to discuss what's right for you and your organization, and how we can find the best fit for you. All right, so then this is kind of that overview. The Cascade Institute, Ever, and Futera, as I mentioned, are our first 3 founding members. There are several things, and Vanessa will be sending out all of this information after our presentation is over. So there's a form if you would like to go in and fill that form out. If you have any questions, you can schedule some time with me. There will be a Calendly link that you can go in and set up your own time, or happy to receive an email from you if that would be easier. And then you could also, if you're ready to join and say, this is already super fantastic and I'm ready to commit, there's the QR code there to take you to that form. And then we also have a survey, the last bullet there, that is that we sent out with the original invitation. But we ask you to fill that out so we know what your needs and desires are moving forward, so we have a good foundation to get started with our first few meetings. So again, always available to talk about membership or answer any questions you have. Just looking forward to you reaching out and touching base about what the best next steps are for your organization. And then I will pass it back to Vanessa.
Great. Thank you, everyone. So we'd love to open it up right now to questions to either myself, the GR staff, or Janine and Lisa. Either go ahead and just virtually raise your hand or physically unmute yourself and raise your hand.
There
I
was a
see a
comment about
question.
student registration fees, and yes, we do have student registration fees for all of our events. So that because we recognize that students don't have as much income yet as they're still building their careers.
Yes. Dr. Arikwa? Apologies if I...
Thank you so much for the great presentation. You guys are doing a great job. I'm falling in love by the day with what I can see with geothermal rising. Actually, I'm a geoscientist, a geophysicist precisely. And I'm into energy transition, which I really want to work into the geothermal industry. As a result, I applied for a program in UBC, which is Clean Energy Engineering. So I am a bit worried. For those of us who wants to go into this industry, we may not have what it takes. Is there provision for scholarship for those of us in that field? That is my first question. My second question is, for those who are postgraduate students who are not really in any of this organization, what category of registration are we? Which category do we fall to? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so one of the initiatives that Geothermal Rising's been doing for many, many years is student scholarships. So if you are a student member, you can apply for our graduate and undergraduate student scholarships to help your further your studies. So definitely encourage that. That will be opening up here in the next few weeks on our website. So opening that up, and it's across, we've provided scholarships to students around the world. And then in terms of your membership, we do have, if you're kind of in that in between, we actually just launched a brand new membership level for those that are not students, but they're in their post grad, or they're, looking for that early career professional. So we do have an early career professional membership level as well, which kind of bridges the gap between, students and industry members. So Carrie can share some of that stuff with you. It is all on our website as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
And good luck. I love it.
All right.
I can't, I wear my education hat, a little bit less these days with all the exciting work in policy world, but it just fills my bucket to get so many interests and inquiries in how to go into the geothermal space. So keep it up, and with the passion and the direction, you're going to have lots of options out there.
Thank you.
And I just want to add to Vanessa, both of those events, the early career professional and the student memberships, are at a reduced rate, right, to best fit where you are in your career cycle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm sure there's more questions out there. We're ready for them. A quiet bunch today.
Maybe I'll fill the gap because it was my first year to attend the Geothermal Rising Conference in Hawaii. I can tell you that even your discount code on that, the ability to go to those conferences was like, and I've been doing this for 8 years. It was unbelievably valuable to me. It was well organized. I think it was one of the biggest and best we've seen. And so there is a consideration that even, as you get your feet wet in this industry, you don't know what you don't know. So getting involved in at least the conference level, and then as you see fit to push yourself in further, is certainly something that you should consider. And I would suggest, this is me not speaking for the group, but booking a meeting with Kelly, even if it's a half an hour of your time and hers, you get to understand the broad offering and aspirationally how you get there. Put it in your budget for next year, or however you do that, because it's in its infancy, and I think there's very few chances where you get a chance to shape, and this is one of them.
Well, we allocated so much time for questions, assuming we were going to have so many.
Well, I think maybe we can call it a day if there's no further questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for attending. And if something pops up, please don't hesitate. I will be following up with all the registrants with the slide deck, the recording, the links to all of these forms. Please encourage you to fill out the form. Let us know. Sign up a 30-minute meeting with Carrie. Made it super easy on Calendly, and really appreciate everyone's time and interest in learning a little bit more about Geothermal Rising Canada and the Policy Council.
Thank you everyone for joining. It was good to see everybody.
Thank you.